everyone, and welcome back to the part 2 of Wonderland. If you haven't checked out the last video, there's a link in the description below. Now, let's continue with the story. I was almost lost. I went to the site where the plane had landed to see if there were any footprints. There they were, large and clear. A cold chill passed through me. I saw everything around me dark and invisible. "Jimmy, we are lost!" I cried. Jimmy looked at me with seriousness. He was sniffing the small footprints on the ground, and there was a gesture of familiarity in his eyes. He had recognized the place we had left, my parents, sister, and the plane. Looked up, went my heart, and I was almost dead with fear. "I'm lost!" I shouted out. There were no hopes. It was my mistake. I should have told them before I left them, said I, and Jimmy moved his head like people who agree with the speaker. My regret was meaningless, and it was already too late. With all hopes turned into thin air, I and Jimmy went back to the place where we had been a few hours ago. We had no one in this strange country, and no one would know and love us. My pockets too were clean, and I knew not what to do. I was bound to live in this country as a street child, with only Jimmy to love me. I started a damn new life in this country as a helpless street child. One day, as I was standing by the side of the street with Jimmy, when I saw a man torturing a girl. He was pulling her hands and she was displaying frantic cries. I was sure she was experiencing great pain. I was shocked to see such a dirty sight in a country that had been clean and beautiful laws. I found it hard to believe and digest. Evil is everywhere, I concluded with hopelessness. A voice inside me drew, and me and Jimmy to the site of the incident. Very soon we found ourselves standing by their sides. For a few minutes the man continued his mission, but the moment he saw us standing by their side, his cheek reddened and he got nervous. Jimmy, you know, is a quick wit and takes no time to understand the devil. He snarled at the man, taking out his sharp canines, barked frantically. It was too much for his courage, and the man fled with the speed of a flash. The girl took a long breath of relief and stood near Jimmy. For a moment, I knew not what I should say. My mother had told me I need to be cautious before I get introduced to new people. I looked at the face of the unfortunate girl. She was tired and nervous and was still looking for help. She was of my age. I called Jimmy by my side and asked her, "What is your name?" She replied in Nepali that she was called Kanchhi. I was excited to hear her talk in my tongue, even in the land as strange as this. I felt that I met an angel. The experience of a distant land brings different joy, you know. I had both joy and sorrow popping in and out of my heart. The pain of her misfortune was mounting in my mind, and I was in tears. Seeing me weep, she asked, "Why are you crying?" The question left me speechless for a while, for I did not know what to say. I remembered my mother's word. She had admonished me not to be too frank with strangers. But the voice in me said that the advice does not apply if only one human being stands before you, and there's only a bleak chance to meet any more. A result that I should answer because she was thinking the same. I replied with great happiness and compassion, "You're Nepalese, my compatriots. Where have you come from?" Perhaps she was wondering at the interest why I was talking in her. For a moment she stood quiet, looking straight into my eyes and displayed a sweet, natural smile. Then she spoke. I'm from Kathmandu. Which street? I wanted to know. From Gosara. You know that the famous temple of Brihaspati lies there. There is a charm of a storyteller in her voice. I see. Do you know Brihaspati temple has been included in the World Heritage List? We should all work together for its preservation. She was happy to hear me talk so. We resolved that we should be very good friends and work together for our country. One afternoon we were strolling and Kanchhi suddenly asked, You extracted every detail from me. But what have you told me about yourself? May I know what your name is? I simply wanted to giggle out an elegant ha ha ha, but I saw that it would answer insulting. So I furnished the plain answer, Beer. They call me Beeru with love. Do not get confused. I am not those many beers who sacrificed their lives for the nation in the recent mass movement. But I definitely am one of their devotees. I salute them with honor. I shall call you Beeru hence. There was an iron resolution in her voice. Hands held her mind softly. I loved the new name she coined for me. I accepted. Do you know Beeru? She started. Exactly on this day, a month back, I landed in Wonderland. I know many things about this country. I even know its Prime Minister. Would you love to visit him? Of course I would. I was almost restless with excitement. Come with me, she said, and we walked along hand in hand. I was wondering how she could arrange the meeting with the greatest man so easily. It was never the same in the country. I had heard Daddy talk about opponent, or I don't know what it is, or opponent, or such sort of thing. I never exactly remember big words adults use. We would often say that the Prime Minister was busy, or was on a tour, or needed to arrange some time at least a month in advance, and all those things. But here, things sounded quite funny. I was really excited. Who would not love to meet a Prime Minister? Moreover, I've come from a country where democracy is everybody's religion, and everyone respects the Prime Minister with regard. I resolved that I should avail the opportunity and meet him. I was only discouraged by the thought that he might not understand my language. Or maybe he would ask me who the Prime Minister of my country was. I was in the fear of forgetting. Because big people have big names and my tongue and memory always fail. I thought I should have carried a newspaper with me to remind me calling up the name. But Daddy was such in a hurry about flying that I forgot to carry one. I will rely on my memory, I thought. Let's go, said Kanchhi, in a continent of tree marched towards the beautiful garden, where I could see butterflies in colors far more than the types I had seen in the hills behind my house. We entered the gate and no one asked us to show tickets as they do in Basundhara. The garden was a piece of wonder. I thought that it could have been what my grandmother called heaven, while telling me the story of Mahabharata. There were gardeners there, not one or two, but many, many people, working in parallel lines, watering, trimming, and weeding the flowers. They were all similarly dressed and looked as happy as schoolboys who had done homework and had no fear of being beaten by Tiku. In the middle was a gardener who was dressed in brown. He too was weeding the plants like others. I remember the long lines of ants that walked like armies on my courtyard, and in the middle you would see an odd ant with a very big head, almost looking brown. Can you see that man in brown there? Kanchhi said, pointing towards the man. He's the Prime Minister of our country. Nuts! You are out of your head, I said. Prime Minister in the garden? Funny. That was what I too thought for the first time. This country is like this. This is why I call it the land of mysteries. I was dumbfounded. What kind of a country was it? It took time to understand. I fancied that the Prime Minister would be roaming around in cars made in Japan. Maybe their world too had a land called Japan. There would be guards to protect the Prime Minister, and he would live in a new and costly black suits, like one of my dad wears. But I found a different story here. He looked more ordinary than the most ordinary man who was working like a layman. There was silence for a long time. I was simply surprised by the new discoveries we were making. Jimmy almost quivered when Kanchhi spoke, breaking the silence of the air. Beeru, there are 1 million seedlings in this garden. A number corresponds to the population of this country. I see. There are 1 million people living here. I said vaguely. That's it. When a baby is born, the parents come here and plant a tree. They take care of the seedling like their baby. As the baby grows up, the tree grows taller. The one who violates the law gets punished. And one more thing, Beeru. Yes, I said. My mind was full of strange thoughts. I concluded that God made this country for good and hard-working people. Kanchhi discontinued. Perhaps he wanted me to discover other things myself. She signaled me to move towards the Prime Minister, and slowly we moved towards a tall man in brown, who looked far younger than the Prime Minister of my country. He was handsome and good-looking. I bowed my head with devotion. He greeted me back in similar fashion. I folded my hands and he too folded his. Tit for tat, I thought, and a sharp smile bypassed my lips. I looked at Kanchhi to see if she had noted it, but luckily she was looking at the butterfly with yellow and green spots, and I escaped easily. One thing impressed me a lot though. He was a man of a great office, and he was greeting me like my equal. Can you imagine the same country in our Earth? No. What happens next we will know in the next video of Kita Kiti Online. Till then, thank you.